Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius from Anucauskas. Today's the 17th of February 2020, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's morning session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, a few of the interesting setups that I found. As always, before we do that, guys, let's quickly have a read through of our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, I hope you're all feeling nice and relaxed after the weekend. Guys, today we'll have a look at some interesting setups, what's maybe planned for this week. But of course, before we do that, quickly just quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which we update on a daily basis. So yeah, guys, feel free to visit us here on jfdbank.com and click on the research page right here. Now then, let's jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the German DAX. Now last week the DAX had a great performance. It pushed higher at some point. At one point it did drift lower, but as I've mentioned previously, this move lower, if it remains above this area here between the 13,600 and the 13,640, all this area could play a nice role of support from which the index could rebound and push to the upside. So that happened. We managed to travel higher, create a new all-time high near the 13,787 territory, roughly around there. And on Friday we saw the index closing just slightly below that. Now looking at the cash index right now, and the way it's balanced and where it's balancing at the moment, it is currently basically near this all-time high zone. So the big question here is, can this push further north? I mean, the cash index did create a new all-time high, but let's see how the market is going to open here. And for now, even if we do see a bit of a move lower, as I've mentioned previously, we'll still consider that as a temporary correction, as long as the index continues to trade above this medium-term upside support line taken from the low of the 15th of August. Now, again, even if, let's say, if it drops lower here below the 13,600 territory, then, well, again, like I said, the last resort, the kind of last option for the bulls to step in could be around here. Now, that said, if this upside line gets broken and the price starts falling below the 13,445 zone, which is the low of the 10th of February, this is where we will start considering lower areas, and we'll aim for the downside. For now, we are more bullish than bearish, but the main question here is, can this push today higher? Can this move above the 13,787 territory? If it can, then yes, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and more buyers could be joining in. For now, everything's looking quite positive for DAX. Let's see if this can be maintained. If suddenly it starts dropping lower, as I said, for us to get comfortable with the downside, at least in the near term, ideally a drop below the 13,445 zone would be needed. Gold. Now then, the gold, I talked about gold last week, and I was telling you guys that we're not going to do anything with gold until we see a clear breakthrough, one of these lines, the short-term downside one taken from the high of the 7th of January, and the short-term one upside support line taken from the low of the 12th of December. So as you can see, the commodity, the precious metal, is currently testing the upper side here, the downside line, and but in addition to that, what I was saying, that if we get a break of this one of these lines, still just for that extra confirmation, ideally we would like to see a breakthrough one of our key resistance and support levels. So in a way, if we do get a good push above this downside line, yes, that increases the chances of a further move higher. The only thing is just for that extra confirmation, a push above the 1594 territory here, which is the current highest point of February, could do the trick, because this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and maybe more buyers could see this as an opportunity to step in. And this is where we will then target the 1611 territory, which is the highest point of January, and after that we'll take it from there. Now, in terms of the downside, if this suddenly drops below this upside line, we will start considering lower areas if we get a push below the 1561 territory right here. But again, don't forget, we do have the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, which also could provide a bit of support. So that's why our kind of main scenario to the downside starts around the 1547 mark, which is currently the lowest point of February. A drop below this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and then we could target this other medium-term upside support line taken from the low of the 26th of November. Now, it's a bit of a tentative one, I do understand that, but nevertheless, we'll keep this on the chart in case the price respects it. But as I've mentioned, for us to consider the downside, that's the level that we need to see getting broken, the 1547. Until then, it would be a little bit tricky here. So we're leaning more towards the upside right now, but we need to see a nice good clear break above this downside line, and ideally a push above the 1594 zone. Silver is a little bit more on the positive side. So of course, up until this morning, the commodity was trading still between these two lines, between this medium-term upside support line taken from the low of the 27th of May and the short-term downside resistance line taken from the high of the 7th of January. So the commodity managed to break this line, so of course all this kind of is becoming a little bit more positive, let's put it that way. Currently, as you can see yourselves now, that the price is currently getting held near this 17.88 territory. You can see that for now the precious metal is struggling to overcome that, but if we do get a nice good push above it, then well, it increases the chances of a further drift higher, and this is where we will initially aim for the 18.12 territory, which is the high of the 2nd of February, or in other words, the current highest point of February. But if that is just seen as a temporary obstacle, then yep, the high of January 26th could be tested, and that's roughly around the level 18.35. But again, as I said, we need to see a nice good push above this 17.88 zone, and to be honest, ideally we would like to see maybe a 4-hour candle close above this at least, in order to aim for slightly higher levels. For now, everything's a little bit more on the positive side, but just for that extra confirmation, a good strong push above this 17.88 zone could do the trick for more buyers. Now then, Bitcoin Cash. I've looked at this one last week, and basically I was telling you guys, as long as this crypto continues to trade above the this upside support line taken from the low of the 3rd of January, we will continue aiming higher. But as you can see, after reaching this territory right here, after reaching the 497 zone, just fell shy of a few dollars of hitting the psychological 500 level. It reversed back to the downside, drifted lower, tested the upside line, and kind of broke it eventually. So, and now you can see that the price is even moving below its 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart. So of course all this is kind of creating a bit of a bearish atmosphere, but of course for now be very careful, because in a way this could be a little tease here for the sellers. So maybe a lot of sellers could start jumping in here, and then this could reverse, test the upside line from underneath, and then and if it struggles to push back above it, then it could drift lower. So basically something like this could be possible, guys, something for you guys to consider, to keep in mind. But of course, if it starts drifting lower straight away for us, we'll keep an eye on this little territory right here. And let me just quickly mark that on our chart, near the 363 territory, roughly around here. So a nice good break and ideally a close below this could lead towards further decline straight away. But again, as I said, for now, keep your eyes on this potential idea where we could see maybe a bit of a correction and then another leg of selling. That is, of course, if the price remains below this upside line. If this pushes above this upside line, and let me just clear this chart a little bit from a few lines, what we're going to do here is we're going to keep an eye on this little level near the 420-21 zone. But ideally, for us to get excited about higher levels again, well, a push above this 457 zone would be needed. So a nice good push above it could do the trick here for more buyers. So that's why, guys, keep your eyes on this one. Could be quite interesting, but for now we're more bearish than bullish, but we are keeping a close eye on a potential maybe a possible correction here and then another drop lower. AUDCHF. Now, very quickly on this, I talked about this one on a Friday, basically last week, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this area of resistance. So as you can see, this 0.6614 area continues to provide a decent hold up. This is where the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart is, and what we're looking here for is a nice, at least a 4-hour candle close above this territory in order to aim for the 0.6676 level, which is, as you can see, acted as a good area of resistance back on the 15th of January and also the 16th of January as well. So that's going to be our initial target. After that, we'll review everything and take it from there. That is, of course, in the scenario if we do get that push, a strong push above the 0.6614. If we don't, and the rate starts falling back to the this upside support line taken from the low of the 31st of January, but then breaks this little area of support near the 0.6551. Now this is where it could become very interesting for the sellers, and this could in a way increase the pair's chances to drift towards the 0.6491-92 territory or even lower. For now, we're more bullish than bearish on this one, but again, we're keeping a close eye on this barrier of the 0.6614, and yep, we'll see if we can get at least a 4-hour candle close above it. Now then, USDCAD. Now, of course, keep your eyes on the calendar and the economic calendar this week. We do have some interesting data coming out from Canada on, and let me just quickly double check that, and that, if I'm not mistaken, is Wednesday. That is correct. So we do have the CPI figures from Canada, so something to keep an eye on. Of course, the dollar news, everything what's relating to the dollar, not maybe major developments on in the US side. And let me just quickly just double check everything. Now, the only interesting problem near this upside support line taken from the low of the 7th of January. For now, you can see that this level here is acting as a very nice area of support. So which means that if it gets broken, this increases the chances of a further drift south. But as I've mentioned just right now, that the downside might get limited near this upside line. If, of course, this upside line fails, now this is where it could become very interesting for the sellers, especially if the pair drops below this level here, the 1.3150 zone, which is the low of the 28th of January. So then, yes, we will aim for deeper extensions to the downside. We might see deeper extensions to the downside, and yep, we'll take it from there, guys. For now, of course, as long as the rate balances above this this upside support line, this short term, a bit of a tentative one, I do understand that, but as long as it remains above this upside line, there is still a possibility for the bulls to step in here somewhere and then push this one higher. That is, of course, we will consider this downside scenario if we get a drop below the 1.3231 zone. So keep your eyes on that one. GBPJPY. Now, also something to keep an eye on this week. We do have some good data coming out, interesting data coming out from UK. So on Wednesday, let me just quickly double check that, guys. So basically we'll start on Tuesday when we'll get the unemployment figures and just employment figures in general from UK, something to keep an eye on. Then we'll have on Wednesday we will have some CPI figures as well, so something basically to keep an eye on this pair especially, and to see we might get some movement when the news come out. So but looking at the technical picture for now, you can see that this area here between the 140.80 and the 141.14 continues to hold, but at the same time you can see that this barrier, the 143.38, continues to keep the rate lower as well. So for now we need to see a nice good pop above this level before we could consider higher areas, and even then we will still target only the 144.61 zone, which is the high of the 22nd of January, or in other words the highest point of January, and then we'll take it from there. So basically, another long story short, basically guys, we need to see a nice good clear push above this one right here before we could aim for higher areas. And that's roughly around the 143.38 zone. Now, in terms of the downside, it's a little bit tricky here. So in a way, of course, ideally we would prefer to see a drop below this 140.80 zone before, and then target the downside. But from the very short-term perspective, something maybe for today or maybe tomorrow, keep your eyes on this little territory. The low of the 14th of February, low of Friday, which was around the 142.74. A drop below this could in a way open the path towards slightly lower areas, and then yep, we may even target this 140.80 zone. So for now, it's looking more bullish than bearish, but still we cannot really do anything with the upside until we get a clear push above this 143.38 zone, and only then we will aim for higher levels. And for the last pair for the session is going to be the euro dollar. Now with this one, it's still looking bearish, so we are still below this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 2nd of February. So in a way, as long as it remains below this, then yep, we will continue aiming to the downside. Now don't get me wrong, I do understand that most of you are thinking that it's already quite overstretched to the downside, and there is a possibility maybe to see this one recovering. Yes, there is, but from the technical side, we're going to keep it short and simple. From the technical side, we would like to see a break of this downside line first, and then aim for higher levels. We can move this the potential barrier for an upside scenario, the break of which could lead towards slightly higher levels, and that's going to be around the 1.0863 zone. In a way, of course, keep your eyes on the 1.0878 zone as well, because that's the lowest point of 2019, and if we do get a nice push above that, then yes, higher levels could be met. So in a way, guys, let me just quickly show you what I'm talking about. So this is basically the lowest point of 2019, so a nice good push above that barrier could in a way do the trick here for more buyers. But for now, as long as it remains below this downside line, and if let's say it starts falling below the low of last week near the 1.0826 zone, then yes, further declines could be possible, guys. And one of the levels to aim for is the 1.0777, so something to keep an eye on. And if we do get a drop below this, below the low of last week, then yes, we will aim for this 1.0777 zone. So keep your eyes on that one. Okay guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. If you want to join me in my traders tea time today, as always, at 14:15 GMT, we'll review some of these instruments, see how they've performed in these few hours, and yep, we'll pick up on some new ones. But I'm happy that I hope you found it useful, and as I said guys, join me later on at my traders tea time, 14:15 GMT. For now, thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye bye.